place of birth.
My name is Ernest Thomas Brooks. I was born in Jackson, Tennessee in 1942, February the 19th. I am the youngest of 8 siblings, 3 sisters and 4 brothers who have since deceased. My only brother is in California now. So I was reared by my beloved maternal grandparents, James and Elizabeth Pastor. My mother and father, the late Love James Brooks and Lorraine Pastor Brooks. So I am very fortunate to have a caring and nurturing childhood, because my mother died when I was 6 weeks old. So I've known my maternal beloved grandparents all of my life. I mean, they have been the ones who have nurtured me and supported me in all of my efforts until their death. My beloved sister, Genevieve, was very instrumental in my upbringing as well. So that's about my background. As far as I am married to the former Patricia A. Hampton. We have 3 grown children now, Ernest II, Hal Christopher, and Danielle Brooks. And we are very, very proud parents of them.
Sir.
It was a delight to be antagonizing, if you will, to drink out of the white water fountain and to run if someone saw us. So I guess at that time as well, as to go to the movie theater, we had a colored balcony, and the main floor was reserved for white people, and the very many stores downtown at that time was flourishing. We didn't have the mall and what have you. There was a difference being treated to the black consumers as well, as far as trying on clothes, and even our hospital had a colored waiting room as far. So in high school, well, really from elementary school, because our schools were segregated, and Trey, they were segregated in the sense of the word. The teachers were fantastic for us back then. We had all black teachers from elementary school all the way through high school, and we certainly didn't feel that we were shortchanged in that regard. None other than perhaps the white high schools probably had some courses that we didn't have. For an example, one course that we didn't have was a foreign language. We did have Latin, but we didn't have some of the foreign languages. And for many of the textbooks, they were used in the white high school prior to our using them. But the knowledge in those textbooks, we gleaned it well. Grandparents, James Pastor and Elizabeth Pastor, were chartered members of the local NAACP. in 1948. Their membership was sort of a secret as far as that membership. So they were so instrumental in my understanding how black people were being treated. It was necessary for them to speak out. I can recall my first trip to Detroit to see an uncle, and I could hardly wait to get to Cairo, Illinois, because that was the imaginary Mason-Dixie line. And once we got to Cairo, we could walk into any coach we wanted to, and we could, it was a treat for me at that time to eat in the diner and what have you. So those are early memories. In the 60s, Trey, where the impetus was for the civil rights movement in Jackson, there was, would I call it a badge of honor? I mean, we were able to do something as students to correct the ills of segregation in Jackson, Tennessee. We were knowledgeable of what was transpiring throughout the nation, Greensboro, North Carolina, and I call it a badge of honor because we were able to right some of those wrongs here. I can recall, Trey, having written an article in the 60s, and in the 60s, the Jackson Sun didn't run it. I had to send it to Memphis, the Commercial Appeal. I have that article with me because we were charging that the police just idly stood by to see white persons spit upon us and not doing their job. So that article was entitled The Pen is Mightier Than the Sword, and I was about a freshman. That was in my freshman year, and I can recall the Woolworth lunch counters that we would go and sat there, and Trey, we would jokingly say, two or three of my friends who were with me, I believe Wesley McClure was one of those persons at that time. I said, I hope they don't serve us because I don't have any money. And so that was a good spirit at that time. And then taken to the jail is where next door to the Ned McWhorter Center now, the Ned Performing Arts Center, and to get 100+ students in that jail was a chore. I didn't move. Once I graduated from my beloved alma mater, Lane College, I could not necessarily get a job here because of my activities in the civil rights movement, in our desegregating the lunch counter at the old Woolworth, where now we have the city hall and what have you. That point in time in my life, I couldn't get a job in Jackson as a school teacher. I kind of felt that, and several of us could not probably get jobs at that time here. And it did require that I move, that I would make a move then. Mm-hmm. With the city recreational program, and at that time we had a 3-person or 3 commissioners form of government, and when it was found that I was active in the movement, I was called to City Hall with the 3 persons, and was ask and chastise why did I write this letter and what have you. And Trey, I can recall saying, well, if the shoe fits, wear it. My defiance and my the movement gave me that confidence. And the commissioner in charge of recreation and streets and what have you said, well, you're so smart, I will say what he said, you just get up and get out of here. And naturally I was fired. But Trey, and I bring up the three-person form of government because my beloved sister, Genevieve Brooks, was one of the three plaintiffs that brought about the form of government that we have today. And I'm equally proud that my son Ernest stands on her shoulders, and the first thing that we ought to go to school and get all of the education that you possibly can, because that can never be taken from you. But so many of our youth today just don't see the linkage of yesterday with today, and I'm so pleased to that you asked me to do this, because it might be a teaching tool. I commend, after many years, 40 years, the Jackson Sun tried to recapture, because the Jackson Sun at that time, Trey, didn't print any news about African Americans, not even when they go on to their greater reward. So I certainly think that what they've done, it can be used as a teaching tool. But most certainly for our youth today, we must always not forget what transpired yesterday, because if the history is lost, then what will happen? You don't want to repeat it, and I don't think we will ever repeat that form, Trey. Racism today is still alive and well. It prevails, but we can still overcome it. It's a personal responsibility as well as a collective one.